Coming into 2025 and into the future, you have to curate music better. $300 budget on ads, bro. Yeah. Like over the whole campaign.
I think we need superstar artists, and you don't get superstar artists without a structured major label system, in my opinion.
You know, it's like
I do 1,000 push-ups
cryotherapy.
1,000.
1,000. What do you do? The Music Matters episode
number 5.
That's what's up. All right. So today is Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes, it is.
Right. And today we're not watching the Super Bowl. We're actually talking to you guys and making an episode for you.
Life is football.
Life is football.
You know, a wise man once said.
What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know what he's talking about.
You got to get on the line every day.
Gotta get on the line every day. You gotta put on these tights, man.
You got to throw the ball. You got to catch the ball.
You got to play defense, offense.
I love random motivational shit on Instagram. It's fucking hilarious to me.
I feel like that's just an easy grab, yeah? Like, that's an easy grab for content, doing this motivational pump-up thing.
You got to get up at 6 a.m. You got to hustle.
Nah, man, I get up at 3 in the morning.
You got to go to bed at 4 and wake up at 6.
I do my red light therapy. I do my cold plunge. I do my, I read 10 pages of a book, and then I do a workout for 4 hours, and then I come home and it's like
I do 1,000 push-ups
cryotherapy.
1,000.
1,000. What do you do? I'm like, I drink beer and make music. I don't know, man. But yeah, dude, today I want to get right into it. I don't want to, lollygag. You ever say lollygag? Yeah, I like to lollygag. Music talk, UMG and Spotify. What is streaming 2.0? Let's dive in. What do you think about this whole thing, man? Like, I think there's a lot of people talking about it online right now.
Everyone's got their opinion.
But I'm just wondering, like, what this all means for independent artists, for major label artists. Like, think about, first of all, I want to pinpoint, remember all the artists that were on UMG, and there was like a deal that didn't get taken care of with UMG and TikTok, and then they started pulling all the UMG catalog off TikTok, and then all the artists were pissed about it, and then some artists were like not even with UMG, but then their music was getting pulled.
Yeah, well, UMG is probably far the biggest distribution company for music. Yeah. And they have so many sub-labels from Interscope, Def Jam, Island.
Okay, so all those are under UMG. Yeah, what else is under UMG?
The list keeps going. I mean, I could pull it up and we could go down the list. But they're probably one of the biggest catalog holders for music in human existence. So
I never thought about that. Like how many? Yeah, because artists are like, I'm not under UMG, and you're like, yeah, but you're under Def Jam or Interscope. Yeah, that's why your music got pulled.
There's the big three, UMG, Sony, and then Warner. So those are the three. If you listen to any famous artist, their catalog is owned by one of those three. Whether it's freaking James Blunt to Led Zeppelin to it's all owned by one of those big three. So like that's historically the music catalog that predates that goes back to the 1920s when the beginning of the music industry. But anyways, back to UMG and Spotify.
Yeah, because like here's what I'm understanding, and I think a lot of people aren't talking about specifically, is you mentioned that UMG is one of the biggest music distributors.
I think it is the biggest, but I don't know the stats. I'm going to say one of the biggest because I think it is the biggest, but don't quote me.
So this I think is the deal that I know UMG just bought up some company that owns CD Baby. It's either CD Baby or one of the other independent distributors, right?
So all these, the interesting part of that, I didn't know that, but CD Baby and most of the distributors actually distribute through DistroKid. And they're just more so the liaison web service of, and then the actual distribution, goes through DistroKid. So same with what's the other big indie distributor?
Core.
TuneCore goes through DistroKid as well.
So they UMG either just bought TuneCore, the company that owns TuneCore, or it was CD Baby. I'm not sure which one.
But okay, so I guess let's talk about streaming 2.0.
Yeah, because this is the part that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, is the distribution part of it, right? So they think, oh, I'm independent. I'm distributing through CD Baby or through DistroKid. So I'm independent. But the distributor is going to distribute to the major platforms, the DSPs, right?
So Spotify.
Yeah, so you're not really independent.
Well, yeah, I mean,
If you're fully independent, you would be like selling your music directly
when
to
we're
consumer.
talking the word independent, we're talking independent of the label, the major label system, which is the big three.
Yeah, but are you independent from the major label system if you're distributing through UMG?
No, you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's part of
and if
it.
the deal is made between a major label and the DSP, the major DSP, Spotify.
Well, okay, so let's talk about it too, because there are kind of three things, and people don't understand this. So, like, their distribution actually happens through these what are called indie distributions, but people don't understand that places like the Orchard, which is one of the major distributors, is actually owned by Sony, and that AWOL, which is Artists Without a Label, one of the major indie distributors, is owned by Sony. So, like, you're actually not outside the major label system. No. You're just doing, a different type of deal, you know what I mean, which is distribution deal, which is separate from a record label deal. But swinging this all back to streaming.
But the distributors, just like, so we're really clear to the independent artists out there, the distributors are still charging you, right?
Yeah.
So you either pay like an annual fee for the things that you're picking on your song. Like you want them to take care of YouTube Content ID. That's $10 a year. You want them to take care of getting all this information and metadata on people's car stereos. That'll be $15 a year for the song, specifically per song, right?
Depending on the distributor.
And it goes on and on and on.
Agreement. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even with whether it's $10 a month or it's like, $100.
All those kind of attributes are different per distributor.
Right. So CD Baby will take a percentage. It'll take a percentage, right?
Yeah.
So you're not independent no matter what if you're distributing majorly.
Yeah. So, but let's talk about, I think swinging this back to streaming 2.0, because that's all marketing jargon. Let's kind of break down what's going on in the music industry, because that all kind of ties back to the distributors. Right now, the biggest thing as far as the earning of money in music has to do with catalog. Catalog is key, number one, number two, number three. And that's because like things that we've talked about even in the most previous podcasts, which is 80% of music is coming from 80% of stream music right now is coming from the 2000s right now, between the 2000s and 2010, which means it's all catalog music. It's not new music. So they're understanding that catalog music is the most important thing. And in fact, that's what most of the major labels right now are switching to, which is catalog music. And then they're also switching to more of a distribution model versus a label system model where they, put millions of dollars up for a certain artist. They're less interested in that because that is more creative risk and that is losing them money. They've been just dying. Right. So what they're doing right now is restructuring with the actual DSPs, which is the streamers right now, which is Apple Music, Spotify, and Amazon. So like those are the major three, but yes, you have like things like Deezer and other smaller ones, but yeah, Tidal. Right. But I think more so because UMG announced Streaming 2.0, this is kind of their way of explaining it. But what Streaming 2.0 from, their kind of marketing jargon is a more personalized experience for people who are streaming music. So that what that means when we're talking a Spotify deal with UMG is that's a new subscription tier with access to different music that is not available in the normal subscription tier, as well as things like the ability to sell merchandising within Spotify now, things like that. So they're creating a new system and a new way to interact with your favorite artist or your favorite band. And so both sides, whether it's, Spotify or UMG, are saying that this is going to benefit the artist. Of course, they're going to, go into that. But I think truthfully, it's going to benefit them. And so back to being inside the major label and the independent system, because that's what you were talking about, with TuneCore and, DistroKid. I think what that kind of entails is they're trying to create a major benefit for going through a major label system because they have these agreements with Spotify direct, versus going to a DistroKid where you're not going to have these features. So going through a major label system is going to give you a different feature set through the streamer. So that they're trying to create a reason why you would not use DistroKid, CD Baby. At least this is from my understanding of it. This is my read on it. So
the way I see it, because I understand like your point of view there, like they're trying to maybe make the major label system great again.
Yeah. I love how you put that.
Yeah, they're trying to Donald Trump it, I guess, right?
Make major labels great again.
Yeah, seriously though, because, obviously we talked about in the last episode, if you guys haven't checked it out, episode 4, we talked about how the independent market is getting into the 50% plus, right? Market share. Yeah, it's a big deal. So my point of view on this whole thing is that I understand why the major labels are doing this, why UMG and Spotify would want to work together to do this, because there has to be more curation of music. Coming into 2025 and into the future, you have to curate music better because the listeners will stop listening.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I just read an article that music was down, streaming was down like over 14% year over year at the end of 2024. That's a big deal. That's like saying people...
Well, not year over year because it's only 2025. You're probably maybe quarter
No,
month.
I'm saying like 2024 compared to 2023.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Right? So when you're looking at this as
quarter per quarter, then that's still month by month because that's only 2023 versus 2024. That's...
What?
Anyways, continue.
Year over year. So last year it was up there. Okay, now we're down 23, 24. Okay, that's all I'm saying. All right, so this is I can pull this up as well. I'll put it on. We could put it on screen here. But that's a major deal for, everybody keeps talking about these deals that are happening that are going to court, right? What is it? Spotify versus the MLC.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so they're like, oh, well, we're not getting our royalties because you package these deals, right? This is talked about a lot.
Yeah, bundles.
Yeah, and I think it's misunderstood. So here's the thing that people are misunderstanding. First of all, if you're an independent artist and you feel like it's all scam, like I shouldn't be working, putting my music on Spotify, Apple Music, etc., you have a choice. Everybody has a choice.
Yeah.
Sell direct to consumer. But a lot of people and independent artists are actually benefiting from putting their music on Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because their music is blasted out into all these platforms. People can easily access that music. They can put it on their Instagram stories. They can use it on content, on TikTok, etc. And your music's distributed. That's what the service is, right? So you pay for that. That's the way it works. And you pay for the reach. Spotify has amazing algorithmic playlists. Okay, I have artists. I just dropped a song with an artist, indie artist, mixed and mastered their record.
Radium Records,
baby. But I did all this stuff for this artist and I show them the game, right? Like we got to run Facebook ads. We're going to do this thing, right? And I've learned this just over years and years doing it. And he runs ads and stuff and like, bam, like I think it was like he released on a Sunday, which is unheard of. A lot of people tell you, release Friday, release Friday, release Friday. I don't think that's always true. And I think that's actually a bad thing to do as an independent artist because you're not...
They do that for the Billboard charts.
Yeah, you're not fighting for like New Music Friday when you're releasing your first song as an independent artist.
Sound scan,
yeah, you're not competing in that marketplace, right? So I had him release on a Sunday, and then the following Friday, he hit release radar and all these huge algorithmic playlists. It did like 7,000 streams in one day on algorithmic playlists. Okay, I don't know anybody out there that's an independent artist that can release their first song and get 7,000 plus people listening to their song in one day on one platform.
Well, let's talk about it because it's...
For free!
Yeah.
For free, okay? We spent $300 budget on ads, bro. Yeah. Like over the whole campaign. And it hit algorithm. It went crazy. He's at like almost 20,000 streams in the first couple weeks of the song being released. Very first song ever. Okay. $300 budget on ads, $100 to Submit Hub. Now, you don't want to play that game? Don't play that game. Nobody cares, right? Go start your own thing. Consumer to, you're going to go business to consumer, you directly to your consumer. Do it, okay? Start a Patreon. Even then, you're using Patreon, right? So independent, I'm so independent, right? I'm tired of that conversation. The reason I think that this is a good thing, specifically this deal with Spotify and UMG, is because now you have the major label system going, we need to make sure like shit's more curated. We can't have people just blasting like 150,000 demos,
AI songs,
every day onto the platform and just it being the Wild West, right? So that's bound to happen. It's a business. It's a private business. It's actually publicly traded, right? So people can invest in these companies. They can buy shares in these companies.
Who owns major majorities in Spotify?
Who?
The major labels. Warner owns a huge chunk of Spotify.
Okay, so you don't want to play. So you don't want to play in that system. You have to understand the basic business of it, right? For me personally, I'm like, okay, so that all the major labels are big investors and shareholders in these DSP companies. So why are you majorly distributing? Why are you putting your music out there? And then saying that you're independent and that you don't want this. This is not what I signed up for. I want more money and I want all this stuff. Like, fine, go find your own fans and directly serve your own fans. Nobody's stopping you. That's my point of view on this.
Oh, yeah. You can upload your own MP3s to your own website and people can press download on your MP3s.
Bro, you could start your own DSP. Go start your own Spotify.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You can create your own website, put your MP3s up there. People can press play on your MP3s on your website.
You could start your own business and then you could make it big enough to where you publicly trade it.
But, okay, so...
Like, I don't get that part of it. And please play devil's advocate all you want.
No, I'm going to play both sides because the truth is I land somewhere in the middle, but I'll give you the major complaints that I'm hearing from everybody online because yes, the internet is full of complaining. So the major complaints already is that release radar is being changed algorithmically. And so people that were using release radar and depending on it for the releases.
No, hold on. I'm going to correct you there.
Yeah.
The people that were abusing release radar by doing this, and I'll tell you exactly what it is because I study this shit. Artists were going, no matter whether you're major or you're independent, they were going and going, release radar. Every Friday, all my followers, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it was. All my followers get my new music and it blasts out to my followers. And that's how release radar worked traditionally. They changed it because all the artists were doing what? They were releasing 18 fucking versions of their song that nobody asked for, so it would get spammed into release radar. And the way that works is you do acapella version, instrumental version,
speed up,
sped up version,
slow down.
It's like, bro, why are you mad? Why are you mad that they switched that up? Oh, because I was taking advantage of that shit and I was fucking everyone else over. And then they're the same people. They're the same fucking artists that complain about the major labels fucking them over. It's like, bro, you are fucking over the pot by doing that specific thing. So if you think that, oh, this pie share, now I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to run my own bots to Spotify. I'm going to boost my algorithm and I'm going to release 18 versions of my song because it's going to go into my release radar. Mm-hmm. If you think that, and then you're all pissed off because they switched the algorithm on you, come on, man.
Well, everyone has to complain about something because like everyone's complaining about the Instagram algorithm about that.
Yeah.
Here's where I really stand. I do business with the major labels as a producer, so I have
amen. They
accounts,
pay bills.
Yeah.
They pay bills for people.
I have accounts with every single major distributor as a what do you call that?
Producer.
Yeah, as a producer. But anyways, back what I'm saying is I actually think the major label system is very important for music. And in fact, if you wipe out the major label system...
get rid of it and we're fucked. We're all fucked.
Because music, I think people don't understand, music was the Wild West, and they brought structure to music. And you could complain in good and bad ways. They brought a lot of structure to music, and they were able to, make music readily available to every fucking part of the world, which... before it was the Wild West, I promise you. Like, before the 1920s, it was the Wild West. So
not even that. Like, Napster happened, MP3s, downloads everywhere, LimeWire. You remember that shit? That was even more Wild West. And there was no way anybody was coming independently making a dime off music. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, you put out music and people were like, why would we buy it? Why would we pay anything for it? So you remember that. I was in a band at that time. The only way you made even a dime, you went and played shows. You went and fucking played as much as you possibly could.
I think we need superstar artists, and you don't get superstar artists without a structured major label system, in my opinion.
I agree. I agree. And I think that's why this whole streaming 2.0 thing is getting demonized by people that have people, I don't care who it is, that have taken advantage of the system before. Yeah. Or found these little pockets in the system where they could take advantage of it. And now they're pissed. This bullshit.
Well, here's the thing, as social media is the main hub for music as far as discovery, I think right now the biggest place for breaking artists right now is Instagram. But what I was going to say is the major thing is music has become very algorithmic, whether it's on the DSP or on Instagram and stuff like that. And people get pissed because they rely too much on the algorithm. Yeah. And the algorithm needs to change, because if we look at Instagram, like the main problem with Instagram is everything is to sales and it needs to be more organic. That's why they're pushing organic. That's why the music's got to be more organic. It's why trap music that you can
it's
make
why
in
people
30 minutes.
It's why people love TikTok.
Yeah.
I'll be real.
But
that is 100% why people fight so hard for TikTok.
But the reason why TikTok is failing, in my opinion, over Instagram is because there's a lot of problems with TikTok. Like you even could complain. Like my main issue with TikTok is that there is no view ceiling. You know what I mean? So you could put out a video and it could get 300 views, or you could put out a video and it gets 3,000 views. There's no floor and there's no ceiling to views on TikTok, which means it's kind of like algorithmically, like you're kind of fucking up. Where you go to Instagram, you're gonna get a base set of views. You're gonna get at least 1,500 views. You know what I mean? You can expect certain results from Instagram. Whereas TikTok, you upload it and you could have 1 million followers and you might get fucking 6,000 views, or
it's not follower based.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. So like, but anyways, back to like streaming 2.0. I just think like, yes, everything's gonna change and it's constantly shifting, and everyone complaining is just stuck on the old model because the music industry is changing every year because the trends are changing
because it eats itself. It just cannibalizes itself. Like, what do you do when nobody's eating off of what they create that takes thousands of dollars to create? I don't care if like you think making music is free or not. It's not free. You have to have a computer. You have to have the software. You have to have like specific things to make high quality music.
Marketing.
Yeah. But see, here's what kept getting argued, right? Like, oh, well, it's, making music is like damn near free, right? Sure. Like artists can just make music, right? Mm-hmm. But then if everyone can make music, just random basic music, right? We're talking about like basic quality, demos, everything's a demo. If you go and you flood the marketplace with 200,000 songs a day that are just demos mixed with 10 to 25% AI generated songs, then we have a big problem because we're not serving the actual listener, the actual client. And if you know anything about business at all, take everything else out. Take all your emotions out. Take all your independent wants and needs out, okay? Think about how a business runs. If you want to run a successful business, you have to solve a problem for someone. You have to help somebody, right? If you start flooding a system with a bunch of stuff nobody wants, you go out into the mall, right? Nowadays, and you're like, I go to the mall and there's no stores there that I want anything of. Every store I go to doesn't have it in stock, the actual thing I want. They just have a bunch of trash there. Mm-hmm. Okay, then you stop going to the mall. If you stop going to the mall, you stop having malls. Mm-hmm. The same thing happens with music. If you make shitty coffee at your coffee shop or your restaurant, you make bad food and you just keep pumping out more food that's garbage that nobody is asking for or even wants, and they keep telling you that. I can't even go there because I just want to go listen to a podcast on on Spotify, but I get fed all this trash music. Mm-hmm. They didn't go. They didn't. Down. Like, please, for fuck's sake, like just understand. It's just basic principles. It's not money hungry like everyone wants to put it on. All these corporations are money hungry and they're just trying to. It's capitalism. It's all stuff. It's like, well, fucking duh, right? At first, you have to make money to like be able to pay people to keep the operation going. But if you feed a bunch of people everything that they don't want over and over and over again, those are your clients, the listener, the person listening to the music. What do you listen to on Spotify?
Like musically?
No, like anything. Like, what is the percentage that you spend listening to what on Spotify?
I listen to when I run, I try to listen to new music. Like, just because I force myself to, but like most of the time I listen to old music just like everyone else.
Yeah, okay. So I'm saying like anything that you're listening to on Spotify, it's just music?
I don't really listen to podcasts. I do subscribe to like the Joe Rogan podcast, but I end up watching Joe Rogan on YouTube, to be honest. So
interesting. So yeah. I would say that I'm about 60% on podcasts on Spotify and 40% music. And I'm in music.
I consume a lot of YouTube, but yeah, most of the podcasts are on YouTube for me.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, it's like everybody goes to these platforms for different things. Mm-hmm. So for you to say specifically that musicians and all this music, this trash, it's a lot of trash. I don't give a fuck what anyone says.
Bro, my mixtape's fire,
you could say music is subjective all you want, like till you're blue in the face.
Nah, bro,
there is so much trash. There's so much trash out there.
No, you can be very objective with music. I can break down your shitty single right now and tell you why it
super
sucks.
Objective. Yeah. But like, not only that, like people are promoting shit. Like, so if you put a bunch of dollars into like, thousands of dollars into pushing your shit into people's faces on Spotify, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah. You think the platform is going to be like, yeah, let's bring it on. Like, no, they're going to go out of business. So they have to make these.
Let's tie it up with this though. I think right now the future of music and independent artistry it all comes from quality organic music. So
It comes from competition.
no, that's what I'm saying.
It comes from a
There's too much uploading.
market,
Like
bro.
there's too much free market, and so what's gonna win is quality organic music.
Amen. So if you decide that you're going to make 18 versions of your song because you're trying to cheat the algorithm, that's not how it fucking works. Like, people will not listen to it.
Go make a good song.
People listen to music that moves them, makes them feel a certain way, puts them in a certain mood. That's it. Straight up. That's why you listen to music. It's why you watch a movie, right? Like, when's the last time you streamed or like, okay, binge watched a Netflix series or something?
I don't have Netflix, so.
Okay, so my last thing that I binge watched was on Hulu, and it was Fargo, the show Fargo, the last season of Fargo. You should watch it.
Is that
really
based
good.
on the movie Fargo?
Yeah, it's kind of like, loosely based on the whole idea, right?
The
Midwest.
same brand though, is I guess, or no?
Same kind of vibes. Not
okay.
not the same, not the same anything really.
Gotcha.
Besides,
okay,
like
different thing then.
yeah,
Gotcha.
just like the concept of it being in the Midwest and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But dude, like, I binge watched that shit. I was like, every night, like, I'd get done with work, I'd watch a couple episodes. You know what I mean? And I don't know what binge watching is, but I pretty much watched that whole season, the last season of Fargo, in like a week, and that's like crazy for me. But because it was so good. Right? So if you want people to go watch, listen to, consume what you're doing, go to your shows, buy your tickets, buy merch, etc. The answer is not do a bunch of shit, like put out a bunch of music, put out a bunch of garbage content. That's not real anymore because people are so tired of it. And you have to stop thinking like this like 99-cent store, Oh, well, we got all this stuff. Just give them more, give them more, give them more. It's disposable everything, right? You got to stop thinking like that. You got to think about timeless things that you can do. Spend more time on the music, get budgets together. If you can't release a song every month, right? Release a song every quarter. Do like a quality release, right?
My recommendation, and I think professionals would tell you 6 to 8 weeks. So
yeah, 6 to 8 weeks, but that's only for people that can really keep up with that quality and a marketing budget and making promo and content around it. If you're like, dude, think you're working 50 hours a week on a day job and you're working 10 hours a week on your music and you don't have any additional income to spend on your music, that's just not real. 6 to 8 weeks. Fuck off.
No,
what's your budget for rollout, bro? $200?
You have to create some sort of expectation from a consumer side. Like if you
it's not going to work.
If you release twice a year, like that's what I'm saying. You're not creating any sort of expectation in the consumer mind.
Okay, so then you got to take out a loan. You got to do something.
You got to do something, but you can't fall off the map, but you can't like just spam the map. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't. You cannot run a music business or build a music business in 2025, 2026. Anytime in the future doing what these artists are doing right now. It's impossible. I don't care what anyone says. Who have you seen do this? Put like $100 off into a rollout per song and release every 3 to 6 months or weeks or whatever. Who's doing that?
Oh, I think the majority of the industry is releasing 3 to 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks.
No, independent artists. And who do you know that's doing that and actually doing well with it?
There's actually a lot of independents that are doing well right now. I would say if you look at it from like a macro view, I think independents are killing it right now. But I would say on the micro view of music in general, like new music is dying, old music is winning. But on the macro view, independents are winning, and we talked about it last podcast.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
At all. And I don't think it makes sense to the world, like the general public or audience, to release a song every 3, you said 6 to 8 weeks. Without having a good marketing budget, content plan. Like truly rolling shit out and having a great song that is produced well, mixed, performed well, mastered, competitive.
I think yeah. So I mean, there's two sides of what you're saying. I stand by that quality over quantity. That's where where we live now. You know what I mean?
100%.
But there has to be a middle ground where if you only die on quality and you release 2 songs a year or even 1 song a year, you're still not competing in the marketplace.
Agreed. So you have to buy time. You have to buy expertise. You have to buy help. You cannot. I don't know any independent artist. You got to be fucking out of your mind to think that you're going to come into this game right now. This game that we're in.
It's the hardest game.
The streaming 2.0, UMG, Spotify combined, UMG's buying the independent distribution. Like, come into this game and be like, yeah, bro, I'm going to drop like $200 on my song and I'm going to drop every 6 to 8 weeks. And it's just going to be kind of demo-y. I mixed it myself. I did it myself. Impossible. Unless you're some crazy outlier, bro.
Well, I think we could talk about this topic till we're blue in the face, but I actually think, yeah, like right now, like I said, to summarize, it's organic quality content. Like that's the only thing that's going to win. And then if you can get on a release cycle and create a consumer expectation, that's like how you're going to win. But like I said,
that takes budget.
That takes money.
It takes budget,
and that's why the label system exists, is to create budgets for artists. You know what I mean? But when you give people money, you expect a return. So there's a lot of artists that whine and bitch about like, you know, the fact that I'm getting shelved is because you did not fulfill. You know, they spent money and
not
you
bring
lost
any ROI
money.
in. Yeah.
So you just have to understand that this shit is really a business, and that's why the majors exist. So if you do not hold up your side, aka sell the damn records, then yes, you will be shelved. It's just part of how business works. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, like it's business is business and doesn't care about your damn feelings. So
facts.
Yeah.
I think that like that note right there is perfect to end this segment of Music Talk on. Is if I have a business right now where I sell shoes, just say I sell shoes, right? I got to sell shoes and I have my space, my shoe space, right? My store. My storefront, my lease on it is $2,500 a month, right? I got to sell a certain amount of shoes to have my storefront so I can keep paying the lease, right? Because somebody owns that building that they're paying a mortgage on. They're paying the lease on. Whether they're making just a little bit of profit off of you or not, who fucking cares? You can complain about that till you're blue in the face. But if you can't pay your $2,500 lease, make a little profit so you can pay your rent at your house or your mortgage at your house, put food on the table, etc. What do you think happens to your business selling shoes?
Yeah.
And I think artists need to understand that. They can't, like, artists think that they should have it all and they should eat as well, and everyone should just be giving them money. And it's like, for what?
They should be superstars. You know what I mean?
For what?
So I think, like I said, so like right now we're in a climate of change. And I think speaking
many
of the climate
changes, bro.
Of change, the world is changing. And I think, you know, to pivot on what we're talking about, like change comes in many forms. Like I think
I love your segue right now. It's you know, the change is the change. And, you know, no, let's get into some tech talk, bro.
Because like it's almost tiring talking about the music thing because it's like being a dead horse. Like I said, at the same time, you know, I could preach to everybody.
The horse doesn't change; it's still dead, bro. Like you still keep kicking.
Like I said, the online people are gonna still complain. You know what I mean? And
the independent artists are gonna keep complaining that they're not making any money.
Yeah.
They're like, bro, you.
I get it. It's hard.
streams.
Like life, like you know, life.
Business is really hard. Getting into music as a business is even harder. You got to be crazy, bro.
Okay, so tech talk. Let's talk about what is happening in the electric vehicle market in 2025. But let's talk about fucking hard business and to randomly switch topics here. Like we're talking about electric vehicles because like since 2020 to now, it's like, oh my god, EVs are the thing. Oh my god, Tesla. Oh my god, we need to like every major car company was like, oh, we need to go electric vehicle. BMW had their own EV that they already stopped making.
I'll be real though. Like I think that was all Elon and Tesla that pushed that.
Well, no, like the truth is, Elon was getting a lot of hate.
They pushed the competition though.
Yeah.
Like that
Elon was getting hated on with Tesla. Like every major car company, and those are like a conglomerate, you know, cars.
Oh, huge, yeah.
They
all
did
of
not
Detroit.
want Elon to win, and so,
all of Detroit, and then it became all of Detroit, Japan, Korea.
Yeah,
you know?
And then in fact, the biggest EV manufacturer is China. So
that's crazy.
But EVs
now,
the sales of electric vehicles are declining.
Yeah, because nobody wants to fucking like. It's so I don't know. You have an electric car, but you have a hybrid.
I have a hybrid. It's a little different.
Yeah, like if I
still have a combustion engine in my car. So,
facts.
Yeah.
If I was ever going to get anything electric, it has to be hybrid. Yeah. Like who wants the inconvenience of like, I better plug my car in. I only got 30 miles on it right now. But who knows? Yeah. Depending on how fast I go, it might be I get 15 miles out of it. You know, I like who's going to stop? Like how long does it take to charge a battery so you can like get home?
Depends on what charger you have.
You
if
see
you
what
have
I'm
one
saying?
of the washing machine chargers, quicker. But if you're using just the regular,
the infrastructure,
outlet,
it just never got there.
So yeah, let's talk about that. Like, I think there's multiple reasons why electric vehicles are not the promise of the future that everyone is kind of, the hype is kind of subsided. Let's keep it real. There was hype. I think Tesla offered an amazing feature set, which was copied by the rest of the industry. And like electric cars, like especially here in California, that's where we're based. We're in like basically Hollywood Hills right now, where Brad stays. But what I'm trying to say is, especially here in California, like electric vehicles were the future, and like the amount of Teslas on the road is crazy.
They're everywhere in LA,
but like
crazy.
Like there's even laws in set. Like there was tax deductions on EVs. There's
dude, the incentives were crazy.
Yeah, the incentives are crazy.
Last year, I almost got an electric vehicle for the business just because it was like, bro, the incentives were fucking insane.
I know.
It was like, bro, if you get one of our cars, bro, you can pretty much have it for free.
Yeah.
I still don't want it.
There's a requirement that is still in effect that by 2030, gas-powered automotive vehicles in California cannot be sold.
That's crazy.
So that's still in existence.
That's got to get
It's probably going to get overturned.
It has
100% is going to get overturned.
It has to. That's insane.
Yeah. So there's still that mandate.
Unless they just like invested billions, and I'm talking like tens, maybe hundreds of billions into infrastructure for electrical charging stations.
And they have. So just...
the
previous administration, we're not talking about the Trump administration, we're talking about the Biden administration.
They have, but only those, I think like out of that, they only got like a few charging stations.
Yeah, it's been kind of a damn mess to be completely honest.
Because they just mismanaged the budget.
Yeah. But like, I think EVs overall, so let's talk about the EV bubble and the hype and where we're at right now.
I never liked electric cars.
Yeah. So like, first off, and you can hear everybody talk about this, but me and you, Californians right now, you're from obviously Portland, but we live in California. Yeah. So the problem is our electrical grid in California is dog shit. Let's just keep it 1,000.
The brownouts in LA.
Yeah, the amount of brownouts.
Bit of rain.
We can't sustain this amount of electrical vehicles on the grid. In fact, everyone, the biggest hype about what we're talking about with electric vehicles is like things like carbon emissions. The truth about the carbon emissions with electric vehicles is our electrical grid is still built off of coal. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like we're basically still like, every emission of that, a gas powered vehicle versus, a electric powered vehicle on the emission side, it's pretty much even. Let's keep it real, because the amount of coal that needs to be burned for, unless we switch to like nuclear power, which we haven't, you know what I mean? Like France or like, Britain. But I think like the main problem with EVs is that, yes, charging is a huge one. Their range still has not been figured out. I think like Tesla's top offering is still 300 miles, which is still not enough because I drive to the Bay. My family's in the Bay. So that's like a 6-hour drive. Like I can't make that in a Tesla.
Yeah, there and back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, let me
that's
charge
like stopping
let me charge
for a couple
up
hours.
For 14 hours on a slow charge, But also like think about the lithium mining.
Why don't you break it down about that? Because that's
yeah, because like this is it's like a lot of terrible things come out of electric vehicles, right? Yeah. Like a lot of people don't like to talk about this because it felt like, here's like what I know, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing political, because I don't really care about politics that much, because I just hate all politicians. I don't care who you are. If you're a politician, I'm like, I don't fucking...
He wants to punch you in the face.
I have nothing in common with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't... No, it's just, I just don't like politics. I just think they're gross, It's like a disgusting place to be.
Lithium.
Yeah, just think about humans, right? Like that's how I think. I think about like humans and human rights, right? Mm-hmm. So if you decide like, oh, we want to go from, we want to just track carbon, right? That's all that everyone cared about was like carbon neutrality. Mm-hmm. This was like the big thing that happened in the last 10 years or so. Yeah. And, I'm in my 40s. So it's like, you kind of like, I grew up in the 90s. I was a 90s kid, right? Mm-hmm. No one was ever talking about any of that. None of that shit mattered. Nobody was saying anything about that. And then randomly it became like, I would even say 5 to 10 years ago, it was like, next year, we're all going to die. Like that was the conversation, because the carbon we're using. That was everywhere. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like, that was everywhere. You turn on the TV and it was like, we're a year away from everything. We're all dying. We're all going to die because of carbon. So they pushed this huge agenda. And I think that came from politics. Mm-hmm. I think that just came from like, hey, we want to make some money. Somebody wanted to make some money is how I saw it. So this carbon thing, like you started tracking only the carbon footprint of businesses, of people, of everything. It was like, how much carbon does your car put out? You know, like that fucking matters. Like you have jets, you have airplanes, you have huge fucking, like these people are flying private jets and flying stuff that's like carbon footprint my ass. Like that's like, that's like a lifetime of someone driving a car.
Taylor Swift is one of the biggest carbon footprint.
Like, get out of here with this
with
shit.
her private jet, the amount she flies.
Yeah, bro, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, it's super hypocritical,
Yeah.
first of all. But second of all, the big thing that I noticed about the whole electric car thing, it was like, well, you need these huge batteries. You need lithium ion batteries. And they're
Helicopter
usually
batteries.
Yeah, and they're usually like in packs, right? Like, so you're just like packing the whole undercarriage of the car is all just a big fucking battery. That's what a Tesla is. You're driving around a battery pack.
Yeah.
So you got to mine lithium. And the people mining lithium right now are like getting paid nothing. They're like not even in
third
living
world countries.
They're not in living conditions at all. They're in third world countries. They're getting taken advantage of. You know, there was this whole story about Apple, you know, making their iPhones in China and stuff. And the fact that they had to put nets around the plant where they were making them because so many people were committing suicide, jumping out of the windows. It's like, bro, you had to put nets around your building because so many people were committing suicide. Because the living, like the living, not just the wages being small, but like the living for these people, so that someone in LA can drive around a fully electric vehicle and tell everyone, you know, put their nose in the air and say like, I'm carbon neutral. Like,
okay, well, luckily, I think we got to separate that because
no, I never got that like concept because it's like your car.
There's a massive tariff on electric vehicles coming from China. In fact, somebody
mined the shit out of lithium, bro, like to get those batteries for those cars. So do you not care about that? Like
that's coming from like Africa and, you know,
so fuck it,
like
right?
that. No, I'm just saying though, the whole Chinese market and their EV stuff, like they've basically been banned in the US on their EVs.
Really?
All the Chinese EVs.
So what are some Chinese companies that make EVs? I don't even know.
Damn, I invested in one of them, and this is back in 2020. Because my stock, I'm gonna keep it real. My stock on that, let me just pull up Robinhood right now. My fucking, this is one of my L's.
Because like I didn't even know that we were.
I invested in the main Chinese EV company, but they were getting government sanctions, and so their actual sales didn't reflect actual. You know, this is why they took L.
Yeah, because I know like Kia is in Korea.
NIO. I invested in NIO. NIO. And that's one of
never
the
heard of
major
it.
manufacturers. But the truth is, the government was subsidizing their car creations. They, in fact, they have a surplus on electric vehicles in China. So there's like massive empty lots of all these electric vehicles that they built that no one was buying.
Yeah,
and they're just like rotting graveyards of electric vehicles in China because they built more than the more supply and demand, you know what I mean? They supplied more, and that was because the government was subsidizing these electric vehicles.
The Chinese government?
Yeah, the Chinese government.
Interesting.
So I invested in
this. So where were they getting their batteries and lithium from?
You know, in 2020, you know what I mean, I was going crazy on Robinhood just like everyone else.
But you remember, my big question is about the batteries. The lithium ion in the batteries, that was the biggest problem with all, like Tesla and everything. They had to make battery factories.
I mean, I could look up where the major cobalt mines in the world are.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Because like this is the big issue people don't talk about. They talk about this carbon neutrality as if it's God, you know, like this is Jesus Christ, the carbon. I got to make sure I'm not, you know, putting in any carbon into the environment. First of all, like fucking trees and plants eat carbon. Like we learned that in grade school. Like they take in carbon so that they can put oxygen out, right? So
Indonesia,
I never understood
Africa.
Indonesia, Africa are cobalt. That's where all the cobalt and all the lithium is coming from.
Yeah, this is where the cobalt is. I can tell you where the lithium mines are.
But you get what I'm saying? Like this is like the key thing, because I remember when we were talking about Tesla, right? Tesla had to build battery factories because that was their major.
Okay, so for the world's lithium, it comes from Australia, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Zimbabwe.
Crazy.
Yeah. But the cobalt and lithium are the two majors that, you know, go into everything from iPhones to Teslas. And so
computers, laptops.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the problem is we're getting to like kind of a resource issue too with the amount of tech and all this, because
Yeah.
we rely on these, rare metals and things like lithium and silicon and, what I mean, all that
for
stuff.
sure,
So,
for sure. I mean,
yeah.
we rely heavily on oil as well.
Exactly.
And and remember, like everything, no matter what, you buy an electric vehicle, it's ran on oil. That's how they build the fucking car. How do you think those places operate the machinery to put the damn cars together? You think it's all electric? They're electric machines. No, these are all fucking, like, all of them need oil.
I think everyone thinks that we just have big windmills everywhere that are collecting electricity from the wind or something like that. You know what I mean?
Windmills like output very little
That's
electricity.
right. I know. That's
Very
part of the
little.
joke. So
No,
like,
it's just a lack of education, and it's not any, like, I don't think it's people's fault. Like, I'm not like looking at like my neighbor and being like, "You're a fucking idiot, electric car, you fucking idiot." That's that's not how I think at all. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a perspective of like, how do you think things are made? Like you can't just track one metric and say that's the devil. Carbon is the devil, and our carbon footprint is the devil. It's like, what about everything else?
Yeah. So I think like I
that shit got politicized though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think
gas and oil. Like if you're a Republican, you want to drill. And if you're a Democrat, you don't want to drill. Like it's all this bullshit. Like this left versus right thing.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
You know what that is? I think basically probably since 2020, the outlook on electric vehicles kind of has changed, because I think at first like all the innovation in cars was happening through places like Tesla and
you know what I mean. It was
GPS
cool. Like you had the fucking
vehicles.
iPad on the
you know what I mean. All these things
all touch screen. It can drive itself.
But kind of what happened as far as that innovation goes is like all those feature sets got stolen by every other manufacturer at this point. So like. As far as that, like, it's like, what you're getting out of Tesla, you can still get in even combustion engine vehicles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially, like, if you're getting a Benz or whatever.
So why is another reason, like, because another reason I think people would buy electric is because they think, hey, I'm going to save on gas because gas prices keep going up.
We've kind of talked about the environment side. Now we're talking about like the consumer side,
right? Because some people don't care that much about the environment
actually do.
thing.
So like my dad actually drives a hybrid, but he has a plug-in hybrid, and he just tells me how much he saves on gas, which I agree. I mean, he still pays for gas because it's a hybrid. But like as far as that, it does make more sense on the side of plugging into the wall. It's much cheaper to charge than it is
like
to pay
daily
for gas.
commuters.
But actually, I think the issue with that and the reason why is because ask anybody that's maybe over 40, but like gas used to literally be 99 cents in the 90s.
Yeah,
and so right now we've taxed gas. We've obviously that's I don't want to get political, but like Trump's trying to drill on our soil versus importing Saudi Arabian gas. But I think more so like the price of gas since the 80s has skyrocketed, and that's why it's cheaper to plug it into the wall. It's not because gas necessarily is a rare commodity. I guess you could say that, but I think more so it's been heavily taxed. I think especially in California, we have crazy almost tax pay we almost pay I feel like double the national average on gas. So
it's like, dude, right around the corner here, it's like maybe $5.50 a gallon, something like that. Like that's crazy for the rest of the country.
But the truth is, obviously, like things like inflation have gone up since it was 99 cents in the 90s or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
there's so many things.
There's so many factors, but the truth is, we've made gas very inaccessible compared to electricity.
Yeah,
but the thing
that's
is,
facts right there.
Here's the thing: once you put electric vehicles everywhere, and then all of a sudden the electricity grid is like browning out, like what it's doing in California,
it's not gonna work.
Then the price of electricity goes up. It's just supply and demand. So what do you think is going to happen?
I've already noticed electricity's gone up like crazy, like over the last year. Like my electric bill is like $300 to $500 a month.
Yeah. I mean, same here.
It's not, dude. There's like two people living in this fucking house.
Skyrocketed. I just feel like overall everything.
Yeah, it's just part of it. It's just part of life.
So, anyways, we could get real deep into.
But
all that stuff,
like if I had a plug-in hybrid right now, like I don't know, like I feel like I think it would balance it out pretty well.
Yeah,
I don't drive very often.
I think like, I think with a hybrid, you're getting best of both worlds. And I mean, like I said, I have a hybrid. My dad drives a hybrid, and seemingly like, like you're going to get the range that you need. If you need to fill up at the gas station, you can get gas and you can drive. But if you want to save on commuting, you can plug it in and still get that. I don't have a plug-in hybrid. My dad does, but like all he does is talk about how amazing it is. So.
Nice.
All right, let's take a look at a couple of these TikToks real quick, and let's give our little reaction on what we think.
Sounds good.
A label giving a producer 6 points out of 100 is the equivalent of them sitting on a cow and a UFC fight is happening and they go drop us one steak in the middle of the ring and they tell the 6 producers who worked on the song, the 6 writers who worked on the song, go fight for it, figure it out. And everyone's like, I get the little fatty piece on the end because I made most of the song. And these guys are like, look at these idiots. We have 97 points and they're fighting for 3. And they think that they should be grateful if we give them 7 instead of 6. What a bunch of morons. That's literally what they're all thinking, laughing hysterically while we're in the basement like, my soul, and I'm just trying to express myself and all the culture and how to change culture. These guys are like, great job, keep doing it and give us more so we can get 97% of it. For someone to be a producer, you know how many hours, I'm sorry, you're sitting at that chair and your back's hunched over because you've done it for so many hours. For then you to finally get an opportunity to work with a big artist and the label tells you you're lucky to be working with them, here's 2 points, go flying yourself. Not cool, bro. I've seen it, I've done it, I've participated in it, and it's crazy.
So when he's talking about points, though, he's talking about the mechanicals.
Yeah,
here.
the points on the master.
So points on the master and mechanicals, sure, they pay out more, but you're also getting the pub, right? And as a producer, you're getting paid off the pub.
Yeah, but it all just kind of depends because like typically when you're especially doing the label system, like you're actually what you're doing is you're selling your ownership of the master, and,
for the advance.
Yeah, for the advance. And
so he's not mentioning that either.
Yeah, so at least for us producers, like we're like that's the reason we're getting our advance is because we're selling that portion of the actual copyright.
Yeah, so
and we're still retaining, we're still retaining like he said anywhere. Typically it's 2 to 4 points, but like depending on who you are, you can even ask for more. You know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly. I don't understand that clip because it feels like.
But he's a songwriter. John Bellion's a songwriter. So like songwriters are
publishing.
Yeah,
not masters.
No. He's talking about the masters. A lot of songwriters are asking for master points now. You know what I mean? So I understand from his perspective because he's not getting an advance as a songwriter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so he's getting his points on mechanical, but he's eating off his publishing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. But what I'm saying here is that like I think especially for songwriters, they're not getting points on the master. So
right, but
he's fighting producers for points on the master as a songwriter. You know what I mean? And such are a lot of songwriters, especially the bigger ones.
But he's saying in this video about producers, he's like, "Oh, look at all these producers, and you guys get 6 points to split or 2 points or whatever."
Yeah.
Right, but there's a producer advance. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
You take like these guys, especially John Bellion and stuff like.
Yeah, he's producing.
I'd imagine he's in good 5-figure advances.
Yeah, I'm sure he's getting advances on every record.
Yeah, so this kind of makes me feel like, oh, I'm a victim. We're all victims, and it's like, no, bro, you're taking a big advance, and you're still getting points on mechanicals, and you own and
you're getting publishing, writing,
collect on your writing percentage, which is what you get paid for as a writer. So if the song does well, if it's sync licenses on a show, if it's on a commercial, if it's on a movie, if it's streaming, you're collecting royalties.
I think he's fighting because like he's not just singling himself out in his career because a lot of producers are getting trash advances like less than $1,000.
I can agree with that.
So then at that point you're doing like some of these producers are getting like an advance of like fucking praying for $1,000 for an advance.
Right.
But mind you, they're selling like almost that if they own half of the record because they produce half of it and the artist owns the other half of the mechanic or the master, then they're giving like 45 points up for $1,000, which is not a good trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's also how far would that song go if they did their own business on it, ran it themselves independently, marketed, put their money behind it themselves instead of the label doing it.
But it's still not a good trade because I'm just talking about the now in music industry because back in the day, people like Timbaland were asking $1 million a beat. You know what I mean? And that was his advance $1 million. So
yeah, but as we've talked about on the podcast, you could do that with $1 million on a beat because the music was bringing in a lot more than that.
Yeah.
But is it doing that still?
Yes, it does. So the truth is, music is actually earning more now than it was in the 90s and 2000s. And I'm just talking about from pure sales perspective. So yes,
you're saying from the streaming and mechanicals.
Yeah, but the problem is that the streamers like Spotify and the labels are keeping majority of the income. You know what I mean? Because they have deals set up between each other. So that's what I'm saying. It's not coming back down to the creators.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from a pure revenue standpoint, and then even if you account for inflation, the music industry is making more money now than it was in the 2000s. So
yeah, either way, like, yeah, that's crazy.
Creators are just getting fucked more and more. But I think too, what's not talked about is the reason why they're not giving out high producer advances, and why is because there's more producers now than there's ever been. Since Guitar Center and Fruit Loops has come out. Like,
yeah, you have a lot of
producer.
options. You can pick from.
Timberland
a lot of
was like, producers were way more rare back then.
Yeah,
and
super
same with
producers.
artists.
They called them super producers.
Yeah, like there wasn't, the marketplace is inflated. BeatStars has a gajillion beats on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
facts.
My whole point is that the cost of everything, the cost of production has gone down because everybody's doing it. Everyone's sending beats to artists' emails. So of course they're going to give them $1,000 for beat,
so that affects everything in the industry. So the answer here to
super multifaceted, but
the answer to like fixing this issue that he's talking about is to be independent and run your own business, and stop going after these big placements and stop expecting it to be how it used to be.
Yeah. It's not going to go back to $1 million in advance for a Timbo beat.
No way.
So.
Labels are spending $1 million.
Yeah.
You can't even compare yourself and your song to what this person's song is doing when this song got $1 million spent on it.
Yeah.
Of course it's gonna go dumb. Because yes, to a certain extent, you can't pay people to fuck with your song, but after a certain budget, you can.
Yeah.
Like if I put out a song tomorrow and I just wanted to like fuck around and be like, yeah, I'm about to just spend $1 million, I'll make you think it's a smash. Because I'm going to spend $400,000 on TikTok and get all these influencers, and I'll spend $600,000 with the dude who runs up the streams for everyone. Not only does 20 million streams in the first week on Spotify, and you can see that, but because I spent so much money over here on TikTok, you look at it and you're like, well, it makes sense because it's going dumb on TikTok. I think that's why I did 20 million streams. Like, you know what I'm saying? People think something is a smash. Social proof is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's right. I mean, the truth is, like, the way we look at music is very, like, herd mentality. Like, oh, if Brad likes that song, then I like that song. But I don't like that song because no one else that I know likes that song. You know what I mean? That's how art is, you know what I mean? Perceived, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can agree and disagree on this one because, like, I know there's plenty of movies out there where they've spent $200 million on it and it hasn't even recouped on it.
But movies are different. It's a whole different marketplace. Like, movies, you have to convince people to sit for an hour and a half on, and sit and watch that.
For a song, you gotta convince people to go listen to that song instead of the.
But the admission fee is
$20.
$20. You know what I mean? Where I can just go on to Spotify and play any song I want. So
you think if you put $1 million behind a song, no matter what, it's just going.
I think you could convince people that it was doing well, and then people would be more like exactly what Russ is saying, more interested in listening to it and taking it serious with the real.
Right, but like, would that be a gamble still, like a big risk to put $1 million behind a song and then hope that you are going to make?
By no means, because labels do this and fail. So the labels already do that, you know what I mean, and try to pump artists and albums that
Actually, they don't do it as much anymore because they know that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I would actually argue like that doing what he's talking about is not an actual great strategy.
He's saying, because he even says it doesn't work until a certain threshold. So I do agree with him. I think it works at a certain threshold. And you could probably say the threshold too is even on the creative. It'll work. Like, your song could be a mid-tier song, but you can convince people that it's good. It happens all the time. Like, especially
I don't disagree with that, but what is good as compared to like an actual
we
ROI?
have to look, like, if you can look at the art from like even from like a technical perspective, or even from a perspective that is like a little more practical, like you can look at things objectively versus subjectively. Like, I might not like that song, but it hits all the notes of what is technically like a good example. I remember, like, we're talking about a certain A-level singer. You were like, I don't like his music, but I was like, yeah, I don't like his music either, but I can tell by the songwriting, his tone, the way he sings, that it's good music. It may not be for me.
But what would
that?
What does that have to do with ad spend and revenue spend?
My whole point is that I think when you're spending enough, and like I said, when you hit a certain threshold, even on the creative, even if me and you may not like it, we can understand why the kids like it, or you know what I mean? So
I don't know, like, because like there's plenty of things that you see promoted like crazy, right? That you're like,
they're talking about social proof is kind of what he's talking about. So,
yeah, social proof though, like is that really a thing anymore?
I think it's a big
question.
we can agree to disagree, but I still think social proof is huge, especially nowadays. So
I just think here's my perspective, right? I think certain age groups value social proof a lot more than others. Like
Sure.
Gen Zers just don't
Yeah.
care as much about social proof. I think they can see through it, whether it's authentic or not, or whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
I really do think that they have bullshit detectors that are much higher than ours.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I do think also the youth still swing the music as far as like they're telling you exactly what's hot and what's not, and that all the brands and labels and everyone are still going like that's why certain things are popular. Like I don't understand why this is popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's because of social proof.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm going off of what you're saying is that the younger generations are more susceptible things for like social proof. You know what I mean? So they're more like if their friend likes a song, then they like a song, like things like that, like we were just talking about. So that's what I'm saying. You can convince, and what Russ was talking about is that like you can use that power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of what he's talking about, and I'm sure labels do that, and it has worked. I'm not saying it works all the time, but I think when you hit a certain threshold on the quality of the music, because there's certain things that no matter how much you try to market it, it's not going to work because it's terrible.
Yeah.
Facts. By every metric, it's not
we've
gonna
seen
work.
it. We've seen it over and over with bad artists that had a lot of
and
money.
labels still try to pump it, but I think pumping actually works once you start hitting a certain creative threshold and certain things and certain
So
metrics.
how many?
Personally,
My question for you and for everyone is how many artists have done the same exact thing, pumped up all their social media, et cetera, and then they drop a record or an album and it flops on sales?
you know what the funny thing? I think most artists, are pumped right now. And
Yeah.
I'm talking the successful ones.
And
as
most
well.
most are
they're pumped.
flopping on their records.
And and I'd say there's a lot of flops. I think there's probably it works. It would definitely work, or else they wouldn't spend millions. Spending millions of dollars is not an easy thing, especially
right.
for
But
labels
the
to do,
recoupment,
yeah.
the recoupment to me is not on the song. It's on the branding and on the awareness and on getting other things going for them. Because now a brand wants to work with them or and pay.
Yeah,
them.
that's true. So you have to look at the long term.
Yeah, I don't look at it as like, I'm gonna put $1 million behind the song and it's gonna become a big success because of social proof.
I think
don't
Russ
think
is
that's
talking
true.
about is that you can just convince people a song is hot just by spending enough money. I think
that's definitely.
I think that's true to an extent, and like I said, there's definitely metrics. Like I said, if the creative part
it's at
of the
least at a
song is at
threshold.
least a certain threshold, because labels have tried to pump garbage for years. You know what I mean, and it hasn't worked. So like I said,
Facts.
I think if you hit a certain threshold and you spend enough money, you can convince people it's hot. So
All right, now we're gonna dive into some gear talk. I'm gonna be looking at the new Fuel plugin from Musik Hack. Let's get into the studio. All right, this is Gear Talk on the Music Matters podcast. I hope you guys really enjoy this format. Today I'm going to be checking out the Fuel plugin from Musik Hack. So let's tap right in. I'm going to kind of throw this on some different instruments and just see what it can do. We're going to freak it a little bit. So right now I have this session that I've been kind of sketching in and writing ideas. And I played in a Trigon 6. It's by Sequential. It's like a Prophet style analog synthesizer. It's really, really dope. But I have this kind of bass part here and I wanted to try the Fuel plugin out on this. So this is the Fuel plugin. This is what it looks like. And it's kind of got this retro throwback feel, which is really dope. And I love the guys over at Musik Hack. They're super, super friendly, super awesome guys. And they just make good products, right? So if you click on the Fuel, you also can get a bunch of different skins, which is really fun, right? Just do. I really like this kind of, this one here. Looks kind of, I don't know, if you're making like some cinematic, super heavy stuff, it's pretty distorted. But yeah, let's talk about what we got here. We have an input here. We have the LUFs. This is just showing you measurements of the LUFs here. And then you have comp and OTT. So we have compression and OTT, and then we have loud and we have soft clip. And then there's these sliders here for body and for crunch. And then you have bass, thick, and mix at the bottom. And of course, there's some presets here. So if you click in here, you can open up some presets. And it's kind of an interesting little layout here. Like I've never seen something like this, right? So you got 808, and then you have all these different 808 presets, and then you have lead, general, drums, bass, and of course you could save your own presets. But what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of mess around with this to start. So let's just hear the track.
Babe, late night, darling, on the run. Pour my arm in on your tongue. Turn that one in on.
So what we're going to focus in on is this trigon, right? This kind of analog synth bass vibe, okay? And I'm just going to play it and I'm going to mess around with Fuel and then we'll find something cool here. really dope harmonics that it's giving it. It kind of changed this analog synth completely to almost a different instrument, like a synth bass that you would have had to really manipulate the synth to get, right? So we're getting a lot of really cool harmonics from this. I want to throw it on the drums as well. I'm just trying this out on a couple things so you guys can kind of hear what it's doing. I'm going to take all these drums. Actually, let's start with this drum loop. Let's hear this.
We used to talk about it all night long. You used to pour my oil. Late night, darling, on the run. Calling my home and all you done. And I want it all along. We used to talk about it all night. We used to talk about it all night long. You used to want my. We used to talk about it all night long. You used to pour my oil. Late night.
Really cool way to kind of EQ things, I think, is to use this and mess around with the soft clip and the compression and OTT. But you can hear it's got some really, really cool vibes to it. This loud knob is, I think, post everything. So you're kind of like distorting and doing all this stuff, the OTT, the compression, the bass thick and all that into the limiter / clipper on the loud knob here. So let's try this just right after or before the God particle. Actually, let's turn the God particle off and let's throw it on the master here. And I'm going to bypass all the other fuel plugins I got going on and just kind of check it out on the master bus. I'm kind of excited to hear what this is going to do. So here's the master bus.
Babe, late night, darling, on the run. Calling my home and all you done. And I want it all along. We used to talk about it all night. We used to talk about it all night long. You used to want my hand. We used to talk about it all night long. You used to pour my oil. Late night, darling, on the run. Calling my home and all you done.
Wow. Right? So that's like really cool on the master bus. I was not expecting it to be so cool on the master bus. Like this is really beautiful. The OTT a little bit goes a long way. I just realized that you can click on any of these and it bypasses them as well, which is kind of cool. But you have a comp or an OTT. So this is the compression or the OTT kind of vibe here, which the OTT is like I would say like an expander, an exciter, expander, etc. Look up OTT. I'm not going to explain all that right here, but then you have all this stuff. You have bypass unity, a live mode, and oversample. So I'm imagining live mode is really low latency. So when you're producing, you could be producing 808s or drums or whatever and be having this on the mix bus for your drums or on the master bus. So this is really, really cool. I'm going to just hit the oversample because we are on the master bus and I'm going to take the output down. Oh, it's already like by default on -0.1. So they really thought things out, which is really cool. And then you can see the LUFS measurement, -6 already. Like that's pretty loud. Being able to just throw one plugin on the master bus and get that loud is insane. So I'm gonna just kind of see where I can go with this. Just doing a quick master, right?
Babe, late night, darling, on calling my home and all you done. And I want it all along. We used to talk about it all night. We used to talk about it all night long. You used to want my hand. We used to talk about it all night long. You used to pour my oil. Late night, darling, on the run.
Obviously, the vocals and everything are just gibberish, but that's it. That's Fuel. Really dope plugin. Check it out. It's by Musik Hack. I'll leave a link in the description. There's no affiliation, you know, so if you buy from the link, it doesn't support the channel, doesn't pay me anything or Kevin anything. We just wanted to share this one on the show. So definitely tap in if you dig it, and back to the show. So that's a wrap on episode 5, the Music Matters podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You can find Kevin at kdebeats.
kdebeats on TikTok, on Instagram, all platforms. I want to change that, but man, it's been there for so long. Yeah. It just puts me in the beat maker box. I promise I produce. I produce, guys. I produce.
He doesn't just make beats, all right?
But you can find Bradley at bradleyhd. That's Hugh Denniston.
Everywhere.
Course.
Everywhere.
You know what I mean?
Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like what you heard today. And also just show some love in the comments.
Or if you want to see this pretty smile.
Hey.